A very common criticism about many of the character design videos that feature Carla Caruso is that even though they're about character consistency, my character doesn't actually look consistent in all of the images. But what if I could take an image like this one and replace every single one of these faces with the correct face of Carla Caruso? Well, all of a sudden, that would mean that character consistency isn't that big of a problem anymore. And case in point, I could take an image such as this one and replace this face with the correct Carla. And I can repeat this for pretty much any image that I have. I simply switch out her face and it's Carla. In last week's video, I had a character concept of Carla Caruso that looked very similar to this one. I then took that original character concept and used high variation mode in order to transform it into a new headshot. I showed you how you can then use pan in order to extend the body of your character. And once the body is extended, we could then use zoom out to widen the context of the image. Once we've constructed the majority of our character, we could then pan to the side. And not only that, we could even reintroduce Carla a second time in the same image. If I wanted to, I could also pan towards the other side. And if I felt like it, I could even reintroduce Carla a third time. And once I'm happy with the entire scene, I simply zoom out one last time with a custom zoom in order to create a final image. And yes, I will admit that if we look at this image and compare all three of these characters, they are not all the same. Their hair is the same, their clothing style is the same, the facial features are similar, but they are not identical. So yes, in that respect, I will admit that a lot of the critics out there are not entirely wrong. However, one of the reasons why I don't fully understand the argument is you can simply swap them out like this. Now, I'm pretty sure that many among you are already familiar with this, and you know that I used Insight FaceSwap to do this. However, I'm also pretty sure that there are many among you that have never heard of Insight FaceSwap before. So that's why today I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. All right, so before we start, I'm going to assume that you already use Midjourney within your own private Discord server. If you are not aware of how to do this, then make sure you check out this video right here. That'll show you how to set up your own Discord server in which you can then use Midjourney in peace and quiet. Now, once you have that set up, the very first thing you need to do is we need to head over to the GitHub page of Insight FaceSwap. I'm going to share the link in the description so you know exactly how to get here. But once you do, this is what the page looks like. You then need to scroll down and look for the section down here that says step-by-step guide. And then you click on this URL right here. And what this does, once you click it, is it will ask you, basically allows you to add or invite the Insight FaceSwap Discord bot into your own Discord server. So what you would do is you would select your own private server from this list, and then you simply click continue. It will probably ask you to give it some permissions, which is absolutely fine. And once you're done with that, then the Insight FaceSwap Discord bot will show up in your list of members. So in this case, you can see that Insight FaceSwap is already within my server, so I can use it. So before we can use FaceSwap, we first need to determine what sort of a face we want to use in order to swap it out in images. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create some headshots of a character. Let's start with imagine headshot of a man in his 30s, short brown hair, light stubble, and then I'm going to place this on a white background. Version 5.2, I know it's already set up by default, but I'm just doing this so you can see which version I'm using, and I'm going to stick to our square image. All right, cool. So this is what these four characters look like. I'm going to pick the bottom left one for this. I'll upscale this, and this is what he looks close up. Now, before I can actually use this face and swap it into another image, I first need to create another image. And I'm going to try to create a soldier in a battlefield. Now, bear in mind, this image here right here does not have a helmet, and I want the image to be with a helmet. So I won't be able to use the very strong button as I did in my previous video. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to prompt imagine, and we'll use close-up of a male infantry soldier with helmet in his 30s, wearing helmet, light stubble, war zone in background. And let me just quickly, I actually don't need this, I think. hit that, and we'll wait for it to generate. Perfect. And this character doesn't look anything like our character that we just created, but we're just going to use his face. So I don't want to actually swap them out immediately. Instead, I'm going to keep working on this character. I'm going to pick the bottom right one for that. I'm going to upscale him. Then I'm going to pan down. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the prompt a little bit. I'm going to call it lower or body of male infantry soldier. Helmet isn't important. In his 30 isn't important either. Light stubble. War zone and background. That's all we're going to do. Submit. All right, cool. So this is already a much better image. Now this time I'm going to pick the bottom right one, number 4, upscale it real quick. Then we're going to use custom zoom and do a 1.25 zoom out with an aspect ratio of 2:3. I am going to change the prompt to male infantry soldier. Submit. All right, cool. So these look pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to upscale the upper right one. And now we'll pan to the right, in which case I will simply replace it with Warzone and remove the aspect ratio, submit. All right, cool. So now we have these 4 shots, and I'm going to pick the bottom right one for this. I'm going to upscale it, and then we can do our first face swap. Now, technically, I didn't have to do all of this panning and zooming, but because I want to show you something else later on, I just prepared this already. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back up to our headshot that we want to use, this one. I'm going to say right-click and copy image. I'm just going to copy that to my clipboard. And what I'll do now is I'll enter /save ID, and you can see here that it's the save ID command, which means save identity features by name and image. And it asks me for a ID name and an image. Now, the ID name is just a descriptor that you'll use in order to recall that particular character in case you want to use multiple characters. And you can save up to 10 IDs in Insight FaceSwap. So what I'll do is I'm going to call it Mark, just simple Mark. And then I'll paste in the image of Mark so that we can then use it in Insight FaceSwap. All right, and you can see it's already saved the ID name and it's been created. And what we would do now is we would now go to this image here, and then we right-click the image, go to Apps, and we click InSwapper. And once we click InSwapper, you'll see that it's added us to the queue. This will take a couple of minutes for the face to be swapped into the image. All right, so that took about 4 minutes, and you can see that we've completely changed the face. To make this a little bit more obvious, let me just quickly open up our photos here. I'm going to get our original as well. And what you can see is this is what our original character looked like. This is what our first image looked like. And then this is what the face swapped image looked like. And just to make things a little bit more easy to see, I'm going to show you these both on screen right now just to compare them side by side. And I think you can see that the likenesses of both characters are very, very close. So what if I wanted to do this on an image with multiple characters though? Well, what we'll do is we're going to take our image up here. I'm going to hit the pan right button, and then we're going to change this to male infantry soldier. Let's call it a medium shot of male infantry soldier. Keep misspelling this. Male infantry soldier. War zone in background. See what we get from this. This is a very simple prompt. I just want to get a new character here. All right, cool. So we now have an image with 2 soldiers in here. I'm going to use the bottom left one this time. I'm going to upscale U3, and then I'm going to use custom zoom. I'll go zoom 1.5, and I'll switch this to a 16:9 aspect ratio. I'm going to call this, what am I going to call this? 2 infantry soldiers. Keep misspelling this, my goodness. Soldiers, Warzone and background, submit. Perfect. And now we can pick one of these, and I'm going to pick which one am I going to take? The top left this time. I'll hit U1. just to upscale that real quick. And then what we'll do is we're going to right click one more time and select InSwapper again. Now you're probably going to wonder, well, isn't this going to replace both faces, or is it just going to replace one, or will it replace the left one and then the right one? Well, let me show you. Hit InSwapper, and then I'll wait another probably 4 to 5 minutes. Right, and after about 5 minutes this time, I got this image. And you can clearly see that it didn't just paste in the face into the left character, but also into the right character. And what's even worse is that it actually covered up part of the helmet, which is obviously a huge mess up. So how would you avoid this? What if we only wanted to swap in the first face onto the left character and not on the right character? Well, you can't do this natively with an Insight FaceSwap. However, what you would do is you could basically take the initial image, copy that, then we would open up an image editor, and what I would then do is, and sorry, I got to move myself out of the way here a bit. Perfect. Right-click, rasterize, and now what I would do is I can now take the marquee tool, and then I can select part of the image. So let's say this here. I'm going to copy that, and then I go back to Discord, and this time we're going to use a slightly different feature. We're going to say swap ID, and this is different from InSwapping, because InSwapping, you're basically right-clicking on an image in Discord, and then you're basically asking Insight FaceSwap to swap in your default character that you've saved, because you can save multiple ones, right? So you don't really know which one is it using. It's always going to use the default one. And the default kind of depends on which one you saved last. But you can also swap faces on just any other random image. So in this case, I'm going to say swap ID, and I'll pick Mark, which is the character that we want to use. And then in the second one, I'll swap in the image which I want to replace. And then I'll hit enter. And once again, we'll probably wait for another 3 to 4 minutes. So while we're waiting for our photo to get face swapped, just a quick reminder that if you're looking for a holistic and foundational education in how to prompt in Midjourney and how to control Midjourney, most of all, make sure to check out my course Masters of Midjourney at mastersofmidjourney.com. You'll find the link in the description, and I look forward to welcoming you as a student. And this time I went a little bit quicker. So if we check out the image, we can see it swapped the face. We'll copy the face. We'll go back to Affinity Designer, and then I can just paste in the image, and I'll be able to move it over until I basically cover the area which it originated from. And now you can see we have a nice little image where only one of the characters has been face swapped with the face that we need, and the other character is just some random person. So this is just one example of what you can use this for. Insight FaceSwap gives you about 50 credits a day, I believe, which is more than enough for most people. But if you are going to do some more extensive work, I don't actually know whether they have a paid plan or not. I didn't really check. But for most people, 50 a day is probably enough. Now, you also saw in the first part of the video that it works with illustration as well. However, it does not necessarily work with comic book styles. So what I've noticed is that whenever you try to do a face swap with a proper graphic novel style or comic book style, then it will swap the faces. However, the faces, once swapped into your scene, will tend to look a little bit too realistic. So it seems like the model or whatever this is based on leans towards photorealism. And it doesn't do so well with illustration that doesn't look realistic. You know, for example, the images that I created of Carla, even though they are obviously illustration, 3D animation, they're still very close to actually looking pretty realistic. And that works really, really, really well. Almost sometimes even better than with photorealism. However, as soon as you go into sort of the line art drawing styles, you're going to have a lot of problems. But I do think that this is a great way to introduce some consistency into some of the projects that many of you are working on. Now, if you are working on comic books, sorry, I don't have a solution for you right now. But if you're working on something that's somewhere in between, this is really a great option for you. And who knows what's going to happen in this space. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more developments and improvements. And yeah, I basically just wanted to share this little nugget with all of you who are working on character design. because I do think that this might alleviate some of the issues that especially the picky ones among you are having problems with. So that's it for today. I hope you found this useful, and make sure to check out some of these other videos and playlists on the screen right here. And yeah, remember to keep on learning. Take care.